Hey guys, this is my NXT review from the episode that took place on October the 3rd. Interesting show. Gonna start off with the opening and showing highlights from last week's Richie Steamboat Cassius Ohno match. And then we go to earlier in the day when Cassius Ohno comes into the building. He's interviewed by a reporter. Don't really care about his name. And he basically says that I taught Richie more in that match than his dad ever did, which led to Richie Steamboat coming out and attacking Cassius Ohno, and then Richie Steamboat says, I learned enough from my dad. Yeah, that's all he said. That's all he said. So anyway, we go to our first match. Drew McIntyre, glad to see him. I haven't seen him wrestle in a while. Going up against Richie Steamboat. This was a good match. Steamboat got a little bit of an advantage in the beginning, and then McIntyre caught him with a kick when Steamboat was attempting to do like a springboard over him. And McIntyre did pretty good in this match, I thought. Now, something to mention here in this match is that McIntyre has a cast on his left wrist. He fractured his wrist during their tournament. So this is the first time that we see him on NXT since he fractured the wrist. So close to towards the end of the match, Richie Steamboat, he's starting to gain momentum. He's coming back. He's going to, pull out a big victory. When all of a sudden Cassius Ohno comes out, distracts the referee, distracts Steamboat. Drew McIntyre hits Steamboat with the cast and then finishes him off with the exclamation point DDT. I wish he'd come up with a better name for that, but that's what it is. 1, 2, 3, Cassius Ohno, or Drew McIntyre, gets the win with some assistance from Cassius Ohno. So we then go to our next match. Big E Langston going up against Aiden English, and I finally figured out Aiden English was one of the two jobbers from last week's NXT that I reviewed and didn't know their names, so at least I remembered Aiden English. For those who haven't seen Big E Langston, and I've never seen him until this episode, he's a mix of like two things. He's either the love child of Ryback and Monty Brown, or he's Wayne Brady on steroids. One of the two. This is basically your squash match. Langston, he hits one move. He only does like 3 moves. He hit, a running tackles, like a running tackle on the English. Just knocked him over. He really did. And then the finisher picks him up for a body slam position, but then gets him sort of like an ace cutter. It's almost like a full body ace cutter, and gets the 3, but he wants a 5 count like King Kong Bundy, so he gets his 5 count. After the match, Langston hits the full body ace cutter again for a 5 count, and then he hits it again for another 5 count. So we see Richie Steamboat in the back looking for Cassius Ohno. He runs into McGillicuddy and Michael McGillicuddy doesn't care. So McGillicuddy comes out to the ring. He says that he is the #1 contender to the NXT Championship held by Seth Rollins, and he wants Seth Rollins out because he has something to say. So Seth Rollins does come out. McGillicuddy says that he's a paper champion, and Rollins says, I didn't get into the business through the back door. I'd have to, bite, scratch my way and, make it. So, and he said, instead of waiting for next week, let's have the fight now. McGillicuddy walks away. So then we go to another interview with Tyson Kidd and Justin Gabriel. They're in the arena, and they're talking about their opponents for tonight, the Ascension. And during the middle of this promo, the lights go out and the Ascension's music plays, and there's the Ascension standing in a little balcony watching over. And that was really it. That's all. Ooh, we're the Ascension. Ooh. So we go to the next match. Percy Watson against Cassius Ohno, or as one of my internet buddies called these two, Cassius, oh yeah, oh yeah. But before Cassius Ohno can make it to the ring, Richie Steamboat comes out from behind and attacks Cassius Ohno, which causes a bit of a distraction for Ohno before he even gets into the ring. So it's a little bit of payback. So we go into the match, and I gotta say, Watson looks a lot better than I saw him when he was on NXT so many years ago. But in the end, Cassius Ohno wins with the rolling elbow, which pretty much knocks everybody out, and he gets the 3 count over Percy Watson. So then we go into the featured match this week, the Ascension, the team of Kenneth Cameron and Connor O'Brien, against Justin Gabriel and Tyson Kidd. This was a good tag team match. I really enjoyed the match. I tell you, O'Brien and Cameron, they remind me, of the stronger, bigger tag teams back in the day. The Natural Disasters, the Demolitions, the Powers of Pain, those kind of teams. They remind me of them a lot. They work really well together as a team. And so does Justin Gabriel and Tyson Kidd. They work really well together as a tag team. Both teams look really good. They beat up on Justin Gabriel for a little while, the Ascension do, and then Tyson Kidd makes the tag. He gets a couple of offensive moves in, but gets caught, and then they beat up on Tyson Kidd for a little while, but Tyson Kidd makes the tag to Justin Gabriel. Gabriel attempts the 450 on Cameron, but he misses. Cameron and O'Brien, come in. They hit sort of, you could say, like Total Elimination, the move that the Eliminators used to do many years ago. Got the 3 count on them. Connor O'Brien, Kenneth Cameron, the Ascension, are declared the winner. And that's your episode of NXT. This was a good episode, not as good as last week's, but this was a good episode. I really liked the continuation of the feud with Cassius Ohno and Richie Steamboat. I think that's going to head towards something really big. The tag team main event was a very good match. I thought that was the best match on the show. Like I said, glad to see Drew McIntyre back on TV. I know not a lot of people are going to say that, but I'm sort of glad he is back on TV. McGillicuddy and Rollins was built up pretty good. And that's really my thoughts on this episode of NXT. Now, on the next episode, next week's NXT, this is going to be maybe its biggest one to date since I've started reviewing this. Because not only do we get Michael McGillicuddy and Seth Rollins for the NXT Championship, but CM Punk makes an appearance next week on NXT. I cannot wait for this episode. Should be a good one. This episode was good, but it wasn't nearly as good as the previous episode. But next week looks like on paper it's going to be a fantastic episode. Headlined by Seth Rollins and Michael McGillicuddy for the NXT title, and CM Punk makes an appearance.